In both Arizona's primaries and Florida's primaries, over 100,000 more Republicans voted in their party's primaries than Democrats. So it really kind of throws a speed bump in this narrative of there being a tremendous enthusiasm gap where the Democrats are all fired up and the Republicans aren't, especially with such a substantial margin in enthusiasm and participating in the party's primaries. And that is an indicator of what turnout is likely to look like in November. I also want to point out one other thing is sometimes we talk about polls, and it's worth mentioning that the RCP average had DeSantis only up by 7, and he won by 20. And they had Andrew Gillum in 4th place, yet he won by a comfortable 33% margin, or with 33% of the vote. So we always need to, going into November, take some of these polls with a large grain of salt.
A large grain of salt. I think that might be a nice way of putting it, given what you've said to me before about the methodology of some of these polls. So I wonder if Florida is going to be where the spotlight this November is, because it's sort of what Democrats wanted 2016 to be. A candidate that's endorsed by Trump versus a candidate that's endorsed by Bernie. It's not an establishment Democratic candidate. It's not a Hillary Clinton wannabe or somebody following in those sort of footsteps. It's this radical leftist, democratic socialist, abolish ICE, single-payer healthcare system type of candidate versus someone who maybe came back from his deficit because President Trump endorsed him. What do you see happening in Florida in November?
Yeah, this is really remarkable to me because, I mean, there have been years past where Republicans have flushed Senate seats by nominating people who really didn't stand a chance to win. And Democrats have also flushed Senate seats here and there, or governor seats, etc. But this cycle so far, both parties have done a reasonably good job of nominating somebody who can bridge the gap between winning a primary convincingly and then going on to November to have a real chance. The Democrats had their first major error for a major seat last night with the nomination of Andrew Gillum. This candidate, remember, he only eked out a small victory. You know, in maybe 5 candidates running, he got 1/3 of the vote, whereas DeSantis got well over 50%. So he's already got a hard task in front of him of uniting the Democratic Party behind him. And unlike DeSantis, who was very strong in, you know, for lack of a better term, the redneck panhandle of Florida, and very strong in Miami, Gillum was very factional in terms of the parts of the state where he showed strength versus his establishment opponent. So, I mean, and he's got a horrendous record behind him of basically, he's the mayor of Tallahassee, which in some neighborhoods is an outright war zone and has not gotten better but worse under his leadership. He also has these very bizarre plans of an astronomically high corporate tax hike. And the reason that Florida's success it is because it's very well known for not having an income tax. And I think Floridians are going to have real pause when it comes to, you know, taking his candidate seriously.